You ever get the feeling in reading the Bible, hey, where did that come from? I've not seen that before. Well, you're both wrong and right. You had seen it before with your two eyes, but you hadn't seen it in its deeper aspect and intention. Not unusual at all. I hope it happens to you, and that's what I'm going to talk about. One of those verses seems to be avoided by the multitudes. I want to read it and acquaint you with the context of the last days of Jesus on the planet before he goes back home to heaven and sends his Spirit to the earth promptly afterward. In Matthew 24, Jesus is talking about the signs of the end of the age, spends some time on the tribulation, then talks about the coming of the Son of Man, and gives a parable of the fig tree that is a sounding of the uncertainty of when this is all going to happen. Now, look at me and let me tell you something. You waste your time to try to find out something God said he didn't even tell his Son. And this is what a later verse says. The Son knows, the angels don't know, the Son doesn't know. Nobody knows when these things will come to pass. Well, you're wasting your time to try to find out the questions your curiosity asks. God still hasn't changed his mind. But in the absence of what you think you need to know, you need to find out what God's pleasure is in what you know, and he's making it clear as the nose on your face, and to most of us that's rather clear. All right? Now listen to it. Jesus says, they will hand you over. Signs of the end of the age. There's going to be trouble. There's going to be deception. There's going to be chaos. There are going to be false prophets and lawlessness and the multiplicity of evil and so on. And then, well, that's not good news. But here is the good news that against the bad news makes the good news look even better. Okay? Are you facing the bad news? Get your fill of it. Watch the news. Feed your appetite for bad news. The world has a voracious appetite for the tragic. That's the reason they tell it like it is, or worse than it is, if you please. Because we have an appetite for it. But here's the good news. Are you ready? I want you to listen to it closely because we're going to spend about 7.5 minutes on it. And you're not going to forget it. Look me straight in the eyes. You are not going to forget it. Here it is, Matthew 24:14. The good news. This is the translation that calls all the gospel references good news. Exactly what it is. The good news of the kingdom, or the gospel of the kingdom, will be proclaimed, preached, declared in all the world as a testimony to all nations, and thus and then the end shall come. There is what you need to know, and if you will take your fill of that, you will be totally satisfied. Your curiosity about things that are NOYB, none of your business, the absence of them won't bother you. I want to examine that statement with you because I've been doing it for several hours today, awakened at 2 o'clock in the morning and spent about 3 hours on it. Listen to it. Just take the statement in for a moment. This is from the lips of no other than Jesus Christ himself, who said, I don't initiate any of my own doings. I just watch the Father do, and that's what I do. And then explaining other things, he said, I can't do anything of myself. What I hear the Father say, that's what I say. I do not originate any of my sayings. If I did, it would not be just. Now, why would it bother you to say the same thing if it didn't bother him, if it was true of him, I can't do anything substantially. I can't do anything in relevance apart from him. I can't say anything right or relevant or whole or holy without him. I watch what he does and do it. I hear what he says and say it. Now, just put this down. This is an adage. Every once in a while, an adage will cover for a paragraph. Hey, here's the secret of Jesus in a nutshell as far as ministry is concerned. I don't originate my own activity. I watch him and do what he does. I initiate none of my own words. I just listen to him and repeat what I hear. Now that is sound advice. Who would want to do otherwise if you catch the truth from Jesus saying, this is how we operate, the Father and I. You see, you too are born of the Father. You too should be committed to do the Father's will. Now, how do you do that? You watch and do. You listen and speak. If you're doing something God is not in, shut it down. If you're saying something God is not saying and would not say, shut up. You'd be better off shut down and shut up than you are being busy for God. Now, I want to continue with this because I want to examine word for word the massive truth that is here. I'm going to talk in a later time. How long does it take you to get over something? Anybody ever tell you, get over it? Well, that wasn't a mockery if they really loved you. That was a statement of confidence. They expect that if you believe the right thing, you can get over it. And you can. But let's look at it. The good news of the kingdom, the gospel of the kingdom, will be proclaimed to every nation in the earth. And then the end shall come. We will not get to the latter part of that now, but later. But look at the first. Remember who's saying it. Remember that he never misspoke, not once, not ever, because his secret was God always says the right thing. I wait to hear him speak, then I speak. If I did not wait for him to speak, that would not be just what I said. Isn't that amazing? All right, let's examine it. The gospel of the kingdom. What's that? The good news of the kingdom is that there is a God who rules over everything, everywhere, and everybody for all time and eternity. No little statement. Just happens to be the most solid statement of all the attributes of God. For the lack of this one, the absence of this one, would sentence all the others to mean a whole lot less than they really mean. Listen to this. God is sovereign. You know what that means? He can do anything he wants to do, to whom anybody he desires, for any reason he chooses, as long as he wants, and be right. God is right all the time. He is sovereign. He is sovereign in power, sovereign in knowledge, sovereign in presence, and on we go. Well, we'll examine it later, but in the meantime, declare the gospel of the kingdom. Say it. Speak until you can't think of something over 5 seconds without the words marching across your consciousness. The gospel of the kingdom. What's the answer to world chaos? What's the answer to your dilemma right now? What's the answer to inadequacy, insufficiency, When things run out that you think you need, what do? Remember the gospel of the kingdom. God rules efficiently, sufficiency, and eternally. Deal with that, and we'll be back and visit the rest of it next time.